Tonight we heard the haunting sound of the Kol Nidre prayer, a prayer that has offered release for over 1,000 years, released from vows unfulfilled, release from promises still hanging in the air. But what if someone we love has broken a vow? What if someone we love has broken a promise? What if someone we love has broken our trust? If they do not apologize, where do we find release? Imagine a congregant sitting in my office in Utah. She discovered last year that her soon-to-be ex-husband had been unfaithful. It's been a tumultuous year. She endured his presence until the custody was settled. She put on a brave face at her kids' school and at the synagogue, all the while feeling like everyone knew her secret. She spoke kindly of their father to the children, even when her heart was seething with anger. She's consumed by hurt. More than anything, she longs for him to admit his wrongs, to acknowledge the pain he inflicted on her and their children. She yearns for him to simply say, "I was wrong." But he never does. He seems content in his new life. She imagines there's a girlfriend, and that thought cuts even deeper. She spends too much time fantasizing about him returning contrite, apologizing, or simply realizing his mistake. And then she asks me, how do I forgive him if he won't admit that he hurt us? How do I forgive him if I never want to see him again? Her questions resonate with many of us. We've all experienced the tension of having someone who has hurt us still present in our lives, yet not in the ways we wish they would be. We all long for acknowledgement, for contrition, for that cleansing feeling of being told, "I was wrong." But sometimes that moment never comes. What then? If we live long enough and well enough, if we are brave and strong enough to love others and make ourselves vulnerable, then eventually we face these questions. It may be a parent who hurt us but is no longer alive. It may be a friend who betrayed us and no longer returns our calls. Or it may be my congregant who must still see her ex but cannot find a way to forgive him. And it's not just family and friends. It might be a business partner who's made decisions behind our backs, leaving us humiliated. It might be a neighbor who spread gossip that never really goes away. It might be a colleague who took credit for our work. Sometimes the wrong is small, but repeated until it feels unbearable. Sometimes it is significant and devastating. In all of these situations, we want the other person to acknowledge their actions. We want them to repair the breach, yet often they do not. We all know the frustration and anger that come with an inability to forgive, but what if the person is gone or refuses to apologize? What if we know reconciliation will never happen? We still long for release. We still want to move forward. How do we forgive when the one who wronged us cannot or will not make amends? Our tradition addresses forgiveness, though its wisdom sometimes feels distant from our lived experience. Some rabbis insist that forgiveness is required when repentance is offered. Tractate Shabbat 115b teaches that we must forgive someone who has hurt us if they sincerely seek our pardon. Forgiveness is part of repairing the world. But the rabbis are equally clear that forgiveness cannot be demanded of the victim when repentance is absent. The responsibility lies with the wrongdoer. Rabbi Moshe Feinstein even taught that victims of abuse are never obligated to forgive. Their safety and dignity must always come first. Other rabbinic voices wrestle with the depth of injury. The Talmud in Yoma 87a suggests that one who asks for forgiveness 3 times with sincerity is absolved regardless of whether forgiveness is granted. But what does that mean for the person who never asks even once? Maimonides added nuance, insisting that the victim should strive to be open-hearted, but never at the expense of their own well-being. So to my congregant, the rabbis might say, you are not required to forgive him until he repents. You are not required to reopen yourself to harm. That's wise, that's protective, but what comfort do those words give her? She does not feel released. She does not feel healed. If she still carries the hurt, even if she's not obligated to forgive, how can she move on? And this is where psychology enters the conversation. Dr. Fred Luskin, a psychologist at Stanford, once lost one of his closest friends when his friend's new partner sought to drive them apart. He was left betrayed and enraged. Even as a therapist, he was unable to move forward. So he spent years studying forgiveness and developed techniques to help people release anger and reclaim their lives. One of his central insights is the idea of unenforceable rules. We create fantasies about how others shall behave. Who hasn't done that one? Our ex should realize his mistake. Our friends should call us back. Our parents should have been different. But these are rules we cannot enforce. We cannot change another person's behavior or character. My congregant's fantasy of her ex returning to apologize is just that, a fantasy. Holding on to it only fuels her pain. Instead, Luskin urges us to trade unenforceable rules for achievable hopes. Hope is so reinvigorating. It gives new life to anything. My congregant cannot make her ex apologize, but she can hope to spend less time thinking about him. She can hope to find joy in new friendships. She can hope to feel lighter as anger fades. These hopes are within her control. Luskin also recommends a practice as old as Jewish prayer itself, gratitude. When we consciously notice what is still good in our lives, even small things, we shift attention away from the grievance that dominates us. For my congregant, it might mean cherishing time with their children or savoring an ordinary moment of peace. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, but it makes a space for healing. And another of Luskin's techniques is reframing the story. When someone hurts us, we instinctively cast ourselves as the victim. But over time, we can learn to retell the story in which the wound does not define us. Instead, we become the ones who survived, more than survived, who grew stronger, who reclaimed joy. A painful chapter remains part of the book, but it no longer dictates the ending. And finally, Luskin advocates mindfulness and breath. So simple. When anger rises, when hurt spins endlessly in our minds, he teaches us to pause. Literally taking 3 deep breaths and noticing the body's tension ease. It's deceptively simple, but pausing interrupts the cycle of grievance and allows space for calm. In a way, it echoes the wisdom of our tradition, which teaches us that even in moments of anger, We're commanded to rest, to breathe, and to remember that we are more than the worst thing done to us. And at first glance, Jewish tradition and psychology appear to be distinct. The rabbis say you are not obligated to forgive without repentance, and psychology adds you can still release anger for your own sake. Together they offer balance. Tradition protects our dignity from further harm. Psychology empowers us to heal when an apology never comes. Far from being in conflict, these two voices echo each other. Judaism insists that forgiveness must never endanger the victim, and psychology insists that forgiveness can still free the victim's heart. Both point towards life, resilience, and hope. Both insist that we are not helpless before the wounds others inflict, but can choose a path that honors our pain while refusing to be trapped by it. Has someone close to you hurt you? Is there no way to talk with them? Are you frozen in anger, in grief, in sadness? Do you find yourself spinning in fantasies of revenge or apology? There is hope. You cannot control the people who hurt you, but you can control how you respond. You can write a new story. You can become the hero, not the victim. There is hope. So when we return to my congregant, I hope the story is different. Her life was not easy. She felt the sting of betrayal for a long time. She did what many of us must do. I mean, she's Jewish after all. She found a therapist. She talked week after week. She learned slowly how to let go. And over time, she stopped holding onto her ex's apology that never came. She stopped demanding the impossible. She found new friends, new sources of joy. She practiced gratitude. She began to see herself as someone strong, not broken. She never loved him again. She never trusted him again, but she did forgive him, not for his sake, but for her own. So tonight on Kol Nidre, we gather surrounded by words of forgiveness. The prayer speaks of vows broken, of promises we could not keep, of the frailty of human speech. Kol Nidre is not about the apology we never receive. It is about the release we can still choose. It teaches us that even without the perfect words, even without resolution from others, there is a path to freedom. May we release the impossible demands we place on others. May we cherish the life and love still before us. May we enter this sacred year with open hearts, seeking peace within ourselves and offering compassion to one another. Gamar Chatima Slicha, may you be inscribed in the book of forgiveness. Gamar Chatima Tova, may you be inscribed in the book of life.